You're listening to Nereid Atlas, where we try to understand not just what's happening, but why the same story can feel very different depending on where you hear it. This week, Brazil recalled its ambassador to Buenos Aires and summoned Argentina's envoy in Brasilia, after Argentina's president, Javier Milei, publicly insulted Brazil's president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. It's an unusually sharp step between South America's two biggest economies, neighbors that have to coordinate every day on trade, borders, energy, and Mercosur. The mood is tense. Pride and protocol are colliding with very public candor. The core question for us is simple. When a head of state is personally attacked, where's the line between defending institutions and escalating a feud? And depending on the coverage you saw, this moment can register as basic boundary setting or as an overreaction to blunt talk. For this one, we pulled together 11 articles from 8 outlets across 7 countries, in 5 languages, from newspapers and TV, including some state-aligned voices. And the picture that forms is messier than the headline. Elena's been sorting through it. Let's get into what's really at play here. Nereid Atlas, Synthetic Voices, Real Analysis. So, when a neighbor calls your president names and your country yanks its ambassador home, does that sound like protecting dignity or making the insult bigger?
It depends which world you're sending in. We have one reported situation. Brazil recalls its ambassador and summons Argentina's envoy after Javier Milei insults Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. That's the spine. Everything else is interpretation.
And the interpretations split right down the middle.
In one framing, this is about norms. Heads of state don't trade insults. You defend your institution, not just the person. Recalling an ambassador and summoning an envoy says boundaries exist.
Or it reads as thin-skinned, like, you hurt our feelings, so we're escalating.
Exactly. A person absorbing coverage that treats the insult as political theater might see Brazil's move as performative outrage. But someone immersed in the language of protocol hears the opposite: discipline, proportion, a warning shot that stops short of rupture.
The same verbs feel different depending on the soundtrack.
Recalls can sound like statesmanship or sulking.
Walk me through the human version. What does a reasonable reader come away believing if they mainly encounter the norms first framing?
They might think, if leaders normalize personal insults, institutions erode. Today it's rhetoric. Tomorrow it's cooperation collapsing. So the response isn't ego, it's maintenance.
And the other reader?
Might feel relief. Finally, someone says what polite diplomacy won't. If you think elite niceties hide real problems, then the insult reads as truth-telling, and Brazil's response looks like the club closing ranks.
Same facts, opposite intuitions about who's wearing the white hat.
Right. Inside the norms framing, the Brazilian government appears responsible and justified, a custodian of stability. In the anti-elite framing, Milei looks authentic and brave, while Brazil seems threatened and reactive.
But insult is doing a lot of work here. We don't even need the exact wording to feel how hot the temperature is.
And that's part of the split. One narrative emphasizes the act. A sitting president was insulted. The other emphasizes the character. A disruptive outsider refuses deference.
There's also omission. The norms first version may not dwell on why the insult landed with segments of the public. The outsider first version may skip over why countries build these rules in the first place.
And each omission is rational if you care about different harms. One side fears the slow breakage of guardrails. The other fears the suffocation of candor.
So which harm do you put first?
That's the fault line. And it's not just intellectual. People feel it. If your day-to-day depends on cross-border predictability, you may hear stability as safety. If your life has been shaped by leaders you think never face consequences, you may hear bluntness as justice.
The same headline can put 2 neighbors in 2 different countries without anyone moving. Okay, now picture two friends reading about this on their phones. One sees Brazil defends the state. The other sees Brazil shields Lula. How do they talk past each other?
The first assumes institutions are bigger than personalities. To them, summoning an envoy is not about any individual's pride. It's a signal that political disagreements don't justify personal disparagement at the top.
The second hears the same move and thinks, elites punish speech that scratches their image. They'll call it protocol, but really it's power defending itself.
Notice who becomes trustworthy in each story. In the norm's lands, the foreign ministry looks steady. In the outsider lands, the straight talker looks honest, precisely because he breaks the script.
And who's blameworthy flips too. Either the insulter for crossing a line, or the government for turning a comment into a diplomatic incident.
There's also what's treated as credible. One narrative trusts formal gestures, recall, summons, as meaningful and necessary. The other trusts the affect, anger, defiance, as evidence of authenticity.
And fear. One fears normalizing taunts between neighbors. The other fears normalizing a world where you can't call things as you see them.
It's a little like language rules. Some people hear grammar as freedom to communicate clearly, others hear it as constraint. Diplomacy has grammar, and the fight is over whether it's clarifying or suffocating.
That lands. But I also hear a quieter question. If you dislike Lula, do you still want your country drawing lines about how others talk about him?
Many will say yes. You can oppose a leader and still defend the office. That's a mature instinct. Others will say no. The office has been used to shield leaders from scrutiny, so rejecting deference is part of accountability.
And neither person is being irrational. They're prioritizing different risks based on what they've lived.
Exactly. A reader who's seen polite words mask real harm will not be easily charmed by protocol. A reader who's watched small breaches spiral into big ones won't shrug at an insult between heads of state.
What about escalation? Does this move make a second insult more likely or less?
The norm story says less. You answer firmly to reset the line. The outsider story says more. You feed the performance, raise the stakes, and guarantee another act.
Two entirely reasonable forecasts from the same moment.
And that's why people can disagree without being misinformed. They're running different models of how power behaves when it's embarrassed, and how it should.
The part that sticks with me is personal. If the next insult lands at your border town, your job, your family's visa, you might suddenly care a lot about grammar. If the next protocol mutes someone you think finally told the truth, you might not.
We ask diplomacy to carry both things at once, dignity and dissent.
And when a neighbor throws a verbal punch, which one you protect first tells everyone what you think the bigger danger is.
The trouble is, you only learn if you chose well after the next move, when it's too late to pretend the words didn't matter.